American football stories.
Well, so because we know Trevor is going to Jacksonville and there's not much to discuss there, let's talk about the guys that are still, even if some of them are seemingly agreed upon. Let's go through the other likely first rounders here and start with Zach Wilson. And one of the things that I find frustrating about the NFL draft process, I understand the job is to look at these guys for who they are and point out the good with the bad. And that's it. But I loved this kid last fall. He was a blast to watch and everything. But because he got slotted at that 2 spot with the Jets, I almost resent it right now. And it's almost like, how is everyone in consensus that this guy's number 2? I don't see it as that on the board. I watched a lot of Justin Fields at Ohio State, happen to feel he's the second best on the board, but that's personal opinion. But do you think Wilson is going to go? Is he a better fit with the Jets because of scheme, or do you really think he's the second best QB in this class?
He's my QB3. I have Fields QB2. But this is one of those classes, guys, that if you were to tell me, look, if you're going to tell me you've got Mac Jones 1, okay, fine. I can kind of see it. There are some things that he does well. Trey Lance, all these guys, I think they're all great prospects. But I've got Fields too. If it were me and I were in that Jets war room on draft night, I'm banging the table for Justin Fields. I think the reason why they have so many people in the draft media, people inside the NFL have Wilson slotted at 2 is partly that scheme component. Because if you look at Zach Wilson as a sophomore, he was an intriguing guy that maybe might be in the mix for a day 3 pick, right? Sort of in a way similar to Joe Burrow from 2 years ago. Not too many people. I liked Joe Burrow after his junior year. And even I was like, yeah, maybe he gets a Senior Bowl invite and gets himself a 3rd round pick. Nobody saw this coming. Same with Zach Wilson. He has this huge meteoric rise. And part of it is the system. They brought in a new offensive coordinator who is sort of rooted in that McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur tree, outside zone, wide zone, boot action, half rolls, get him outside of the pocket, flood concepts to one side of the field with routes in the middle of the field to sort of throw back to. Look who the new offensive coordinator in New York is. I mean, it's a LaFleur brother. You expect them to be running that offense. And so when you see him take this huge leap in production from sophomore year to junior year in that kind of system, it's it makes sense. It's a scheme fit. There are certainly some things that he does very well. Arm talent. I think he's got a plus arm. I don't think he's the best arm of the 5, but I think it's very good. Certainly athletic. He can certainly give you those off-platform, off-structure moments where if the pocket's collapsing or if he has to fit a throw or drop the arm slot or whatever, he can do it. And so you start putting that stuff together, and it seems to fit with the way the game is trending at the position, an emphasis on athleticism, that sort of scheme fit. I think that's the reason why we're seeing Wilson at 2. I personally, again, I'm with you, Nick. I'd go Justin Fields. But if they go Wilson at 2, okay. I think the fit will be good in that Jets offense. Are there things he needs to get better at? Sure. I mean, there are moments when he bails from clean or cleanish pockets. I'd like him to sort of click and climb a bit more, hand in the pocket a bit more. Don't be so willing to sort of seek out chaos. It's part of the reason why I've compared it to Baker Mayfield. I see a similar play style between those 2 guys. When Baker was at Oklahoma, I called it the conundrum of comfort and chaos. I wrote 2 different pieces with that sort of title because he would bail from clean pockets to seek out sort of chaos outside of it. And Stefanski's system, outside zone, boot action, all that sort of catered to that, which is, again, why I think the fit works with the Jets. I think there are also moments where Wilson has to come off concepts quicker. There's a great play example of it. I've talked about it a bit. Boise State's got an under and a slot fade on a 4th and 4. It's closed. It's covered. If he comes to the middle of the field, which he should have seen pre-snap, middle field was wide open, he's going to dig route for a touchdown perhaps, but he doesn't see it. He never comes off the route that should have been closed in his mind, but he just doesn't come off it. So there are moments he has to speed himself up too. I think he's a good prospect to a great prospect. He's my QB3. He's going to go top 5. I see it. I'd still go Fields, but if that's the pick of 2, I get it.
That's it. Yeah, both immense talents, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
I grew up watching Buckeye football. I've watched a lot of Ohio State in my life. I know the history of the program very well. I'm not exaggerating to say Justin Fields is perhaps the best quarterback in Ohio State history to come out of that program. And we all know the talent. a lot of people have watched a lot of Buckeye football with them being in the playoffs the last couple of years. So I don't think we have to cover the talent as much on that. And we've talked about it a little bit already. But a couple of the issues that you pointed out is, which you've already mentioned here too, is the over relying on the arm talent to solve a problem and really just playing too much hero ball. A lot of people crushed that Indiana game. And I always like to say, did you watch it? Because they were winning 35-7 before he started. I think he was just pressing a little bit. They were kind of sloppy. The whole team was a little sloppy. The defense was sloppy. It's just one of those things where you're like, let's put this game away. He starts pressing. He makes some dumb plays. It happens in sports. So the hero ball component happens. I happen to agree with that because I remember thinking that watching that game was like, he's pressing. He's trying to do too much. But do you think these are problems that are just, they can easily be coached up at the next level, right?
I absolutely think so. And, anytime you talk about Justin Fields in a positive light, Indiana and then Northwestern are the next two words out of somebody's mouth. I did a video breakdown of the Indiana game, where we talked about that ghost seam. And then the two other interceptions were obviously sort of hero ball moments. But what I loved about that Indiana game was, even in this game that was supposedly a disaster for him and made him an undraftable quarterback, or however you want to frame it, he's doing the things that people say he can't do. He's working through reads. He's working through progressions. He's going full field. He's looking people off. And so, that game wasn't as bad as people have made it out to be. And matter of fact, I think it's one of the better games of his to study because you see him make mistakes and yet still do the things that people say he can't do or won't be able to do at the next level. And I got to be honest about Fields. I remember last summer when I was watching Fields, I came away sort of underwhelmed. I was like, I'm just not so sure about this guy. I remember one night I was playing Warzone with like Benjamin Solak and some other people, and they were asking me about Fields, and I'm like, guys, I'm just not so sure about it. And they're like crushing me, and they're like making fun of me, mostly because I can't play Warzone, but also because of the Fields take. And I'm one of those people that gets to the buy station and like panics. I don't know how to drop the money. I like freak out. So yeah. But I really came around on Fields this year. You watch that Clemson game. You watch these games where he supposedly struggled. The Rutgers game, I know it's Rutgers, but man, he had some ridiculous throws in that game. And the other thing he showed me in that game is how he'll be able to handle pressure at the next level, because he had two moments where he had unblocked free rushers and he knew they were coming, and he's able to evade them by spinning out of the pocket, but he set them up. Like both of those moments, he sees the unblocked guy off the edge. He starts like he's going to climb the pocket, and you can see on both plays that edge defender flatten their path, thinking, okay, he's going to climb. I'm going to flatten. And then he spins out the back door. And those are those proverbial, like, put the pen down moments. And on one of them, he spins out, makes a throw on his move, roll it left on the money. It could call back for an offensive holding penalty away from the play. Doesn't matter. It's a put the pen down moment. Or there's the moment where he's going full field smash concept into seam route up the right sideline against cover two and makes the whole shot late in the down, which is just an arm talent, ridiculous throw. So Fields really opened my eyes this year. And so he went from a guy that I was looking at a QB3 behind Lance. I had him Lance, Fields going into this year. Fields leapfrogged Lance like easily, leaps and bounds to the point where it's basically 1A and 1B to me, Lawrence and Fields. And
how much does that Michigan State? How much does that Michigan State game get reference where he essentially carried the team on his back?
Nobody mentions that.
And by the way, he had like a guard snapping to him. He's picking the ball off the ground every other snap.
He's running downfield to throw blocks.
Rob, how many?
Nobody really mentions that one.
Rob, how many of the starters from Northwestern are going to get drafted this year?
It's a few of those guys.
5?
In that Northwestern defense.
I mean, that's good defense.
They might have one of the top safeties in next year's draft.
That's a great defense that gets overlooked nationally because it's Northwestern, but Pat Fitzgerald's got those guys playing. So, I mean, it wasn't Fields' best game, but then he turns around and has the Clemson game. So it's like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm venting. I liked your take on Justin Fields, and I wanted to expand on that.
The whole Fields narrative has gone through 3 cycles, which have been infuriating to me. There is the sort of like he can't make progression reads. And I'll admit, like I said, look, that might have been true a year ago. If you watched him this season, if you watched that Clemson game, it's why I did a whole breakdown on the 2 Clemson games on YouTube. He's going through progressions, 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 balls out. Like, that narrative should be done and dusted. Are there moments where you might have to get faster? Yeah. Are there moments where he sometimes locks onto a read? Yeah. But that's true of all these guys. And like I said, all these guys got to get faster. And then the second narrative was the supposed like he doesn't love the game, like whatever. And we all get stuff slid into our DMs. Everybody that's talked to me about Justin Fields has said, look, nothing but great things about this kid. But I don't need somebody to tell me what Justin Fields feels about the game of football. I need to turn on the Clemson game. I need to turn on that Michigan State game. A dude that's running 70 yards downfield to throw a block for his running back after giving him the football loves this game. A guy that's going to go to the mattresses to play football when it looked like the Big Ten was going to shut it down for COVID-19 loves this game. A guy that gets lit up by Clemson, comes back, throws a touchdown, hobbles off the field, gets shot up with God knows what at halftime, and staves off a Trevor Lawrence comeback in the second half, loves the game of football. Fields could have said, you know what? COVID, I'm going to opt out. I'm QB2. I'm going second overall. I don't need to do anything else. No, he wants to play this game. So that this idea that he doesn't love the game, I didn't need people telling me as many people told me that he loves the game. I didn't need to hear it. Like, you could see it. And then the third thing, which was recent, which was, he played baseball, so his mechanics are a mess. I'm sorry. Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson.
Are they good?
All these quarterbacks
are those guys
have the
good?
baseball background. Like, we're going through this era of you need to have the baseball background so you can drop the arm slot and do all those cool things. The guy's a 6'4" freak playing shortstop. Come on. Like, no. The narratives about Fields of like, I've long joked that this would be the draft cycle that ends me, and those narratives are the reasons, friends. Like, I mean, maybe Justin Fields doesn't pan out the way we'd like, but it's not because he played baseball. It's not going to be because he didn't love the game. And it's not going to be because he can't go through progressions, because he can certainly go through progressions. He certainly loves this game. And yeah, he played baseball, but a lot of great ones did. Oh, I forgot one guy, Tom Brady. Yeah, how'd that guy's career turn out?
Thank you for listening to American Football Stories podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, American Football Stories. We are working to grow our network on YouTube and we'd love to have you subscribe. You can find us also on Apple Podcasts, on Twitter, at American FB Story, and on our website, AmericanFootballStories.com. I am Robert Parker. My co-host is Nick Knudsen. This has been another episode of American Football Stories.